like my shirt or not? Yeah. Okay. So, I'm talking about waste audit and bioplastics. This is something we do. Waste audit is something we do for each and every location. We are setting it up to see how much material they are generating and what are the alternatives they can find, or overall how many kinds of materials they are having. So I will demonstrate that in a bit, where I'm wearing gloves and I'm on my knees, I'm going through the trash bags and everything. But I just want to give you some advanced notice about that. So that's the definition of the waste I got from Google search, but I made sure that it's from Oxford or Webster, not from Urban Dictionary, but from the other ones. So the act of using something in a careless or unnecessary way, causing it to be lost or destroyed. I think that definition is perfect and it says it all. But the problem is, when you Google for the definition of waste, that's not the first one that pops out. So you got to dig a little deeper to get the definition. So let's talk about resource, because we are talking about, hey, waste is not waste till you wasted it. I think I read it from the book I got as a gift. Sorry, I forgot who quoted that. But I like to use the term resource. So according to me, I'm not taking it from any dictionary, because none of the dictionaries have a definition for resource, natural resource. They don't have a definition. Maybe I did not look properly deep through the pages. According to me, something that can be used, reused, repurposed till it becomes part of soil or found its purpose. For me, I grew up with a family of farmers, but I didn't know that this has fancy technical terms, where I grew up with my grandparents on a tiny land. Chickens, buffaloes, water buffaloes, ox, not the cow, we have ox. And I didn't know why my grandma used to make me to take the dung every single morning from the animal shed and put it in a particular spot and cover it with straw, just so that chickens can go and just rip it all off. At the time, I did not know why she's making me to do that. But after connecting with Haley and understanding how composting, and talking to Courtney and reading some books, looking at how these things are related, I'm like, hell yeah, it's in my blood. I don't have to know about it. It's in my muscle memory. It's just bringing my lazy, horrifying childhood memories and making them into something beautiful. Don't hate your grandma because she made you to literally shovel that shit. She made it for a purpose, but I'm like, that's perfect. I shoveled shit. Not with a shovel, guys. I have 2 free shovels. We are poor and we can't afford shovels, okay? We are poor in a village in India, so we can't afford shovels. All the money we spent on is like ox and buffaloes, so everything that needs to be reused, repurposed. And I have a big story to tell, but the only thing I remember growing up is we have a concrete tub. It's made with some concrete blocks or something. And I remember my grandma cutting everything, taking everything from the garden after the morning chores. She puts everything in there, and rest of the day, whatever the water we are using, we don't have taps, so somebody has to get our water walking 2 miles one way. So water is a limited resource for us. And my grandmother will wash rice, wash vegetables and everything. That water goes directly into this concrete bin. 5 o'clock, as the sunset hits, the ox and the buffaloes are walking home with my grandfather. I'm ready with a container of cold water from a terracotta pot for my grandfather. He comes inside the door, and the animals will go directly into that container, because they know throughout the morning my grandmother is adding nutrients into that water. It became a smoothie for them. This is me turning my horrifying childhood into best things, okay? This is my imagination. So I was like, that makes sense. You are not wasting water, you are not wasting anything. Dung is the only thing that going into the pile, or chicken feathers when we butchered it to eat for a festival or something. But everything else mostly is going into this concrete container where the animals are drinking and eating, slurping. Oh, you should have seen those buffaloes going with their big tongue. And I'm like, I don't want to see it. But it's cool. So resource, that's why I call it as a resource. That's why I educate people saying, if you're looking at it as a waste material, you just want to put it in a container, shut the door, put
push it out of your door. You don't want it in your house. But think, how do you connect? For me, the connections come from my, cultural roots, the way I grew up, but it's going to be different for every one of us. So I connect with resource, somebody else connect with organics, somebody else connect with inedible food material, somebody else connect with like ad trimmings. So what is the resource that you are saying instead of waste? So, and how can I come up with that beautiful definition? I learned this model after watching Barbara O'Neill's some videos, but I think this is a really good proven model. These are called your board of trustees. Everybody should have these board of trustees in their head. It's why, when, what, where, how, and who. 5 W's and H. Now anybody gives me a question and asks me, hey, what do you do? What is your take on that? I'm not coming up with an immediate answer. I'm like, can you give me a couple of days? And I'm going to my notebook and I write the question as clearly as I understood. And I write these things in an order and I'm like, answer every single one of these and you will find answer to that question. So this is what helped me to come up with the word resource and my definition for resource. That's why, oh, it's fancy, okay. That's why, who made this? I did it, okay. So that's why I don't call it waste audit. I call it resource audit, and that's just me. Wherever I'm going, I'm like, are we doing a waste audit? Correction, I call it as a resource because you have a lot of resources on your hand, you just don't know how to use it. If it's a waste, you want to take it outside and get rid of it, but if you call it as a resource, you see where it will fit in your life or what is the purpose for that. So this is the good title for my presentation. This is where my presentation starts, not the other 2 slides because it says waste audit. So it's not waste audit, it's resource audit. What is the problem? This is another real good structure. I loved Monique saying that she found a problem, she found a solution with a loophole, and it benefited the whole planet. Even though it's tiny on this big world in LA or west of LA, but the benefit kind of created this ripple effect. So that's how I teach. Hey, you identified a problem. Do you have a solution for that? And how many people or how many things are going to benefit from that one solution? If you can communicate that clearly to the people, they won't say no to you. I mean, obviously, I'll say no to many people because I couldn't find that benefit clearly. But this is how I offer my services and what I'm doing with Desert Compost. And thank you for Haley and Courtney, pushing me through this because as of this June, I started my own business called Prema's Permaculture and Composting. This is green economy. These are the jobs we want to create, and I trained 20 kids with Jennifer's organization, taught them how to compost, and they're still coming to train with me in the site, and I'm like, I'm pretty proud of myself at this point. Now, I'm a mechanical engineer. I don't want to do that anymore because I did it, I don't know for how many reasons, that's past me, but I found my purpose. And at the same time, I need to make money. So I started my business. I'm an independent contractor. I go out and consult people. I go on farms. I can't give all the knowledge, but now I have these connections. If somebody want to do soil testing, I can go to Janelle. If somebody wants to talk more about compost tea, I'm like, Danielle, I need your services, please. So these are the connections I'm making. So what is the problem? My problem. Why composting gets yucky to people? Because they don't have knowledge and they don't understand what's happening. So that is the main problem that I want to address with my skill set, with my knowledge, and with my networking. What is the solution to that? First of all, I need to educate myself. I can't just say, hey, mixing animal poop and straw will give you compost. A lot of people will listen to me, but there will be a large amount of people that need some scientific basis or traditional basis. So I want to connect with everybody. And this is what, if you observe one thing we learned in this retreat, you are sitting down and listening to the people that are saying no or don't agree with you because you want to know their perspective. But at the same time, while listening to them, I want to make sure that I am well versed with science backed up, information backed from science, information backed up with data. The technology is so good. Why can't we do that to compost? Why can't we do that to sustainability? You know, I should be able to kind of give them references. You know, if I'm going to a board of directors that has a, I don't know, big property and they want to know what is their carbon drawdown or something, I don't know that off top of my head, but if I know there is scientific based evidence to that, I can provide those resources. So educating myself and making sure that people are getting educated. So the main thing I do is, like, when I'm doing this resource audit, I'm not doing out back of your house or back of the school classroom or somewhere else. I'm doing it in the middle of everything. I want everybody that's in that structure walking by to see what am I doing. So they come and ask us, why are you doing? Then I can offer them a solution saying, I'm going to compost it. Then they can say, when are you composting? Who is participating and how can we help? So I got my answers to 5 W's and H just by making sure that that resource audit is in the middle of everything, not somewhere in the corner where everybody thinks, oh, we should take it out back there. And we got that. We had people asking us, can you do it on the back side? Can you do it somewhere else? Because I don't want everybody to see it. And I'm like, yes, of course, but do you understand, if you keep it away, nobody is going to learn this, because maybe this is the first and last time we are doing this here. So that's the solution. Benefit, why am I doing this in the middle of everything? Well, educating more people and more minds adapting, and one brain, multiple brains comes with better solutions, more ideas than me just looking at a pile of material and not knowing what to do. So, sorry if I'm boring you. That's for the resource audit. Right after talking about bioplastics and plastic material, we will do a hands-on resource audit. And this is very important because we have people that felt like, I don't want to ever do this again. I don't want to participate ever again. If you have a chance, if you're working with an organization or if you have your own business, make sure you and your team go and visit a transfer station, which means your local waste hauler is picking up the material and they're taking it to a huge area which is called a transfer station. That's where we went, right? And you will see how they are separating material that's coming into those trash containers, and people has to literally wear gloves, just the regular gloves, not the fireproof or cut proof or anything, and they have to go through like separating everything, and what they get in return, poked with needles. If you are a school, if you are a small team of people, or if you are with an organization, take those people out there for a field trip. Let them to see what's happening on a large scale and why is it important for, as an individual, we need to do these things at an individual level so everything is organized and the world is smoothly running around us. Bioplastics, this is a really good website I found. They have a really big definition. As the name suggests, are those that are derived from biological matters or biodegradable sources, like so many products. Unlike their plastic counterparts, which are derived out of fossil fuels and petrochemical polymers, bio-based plastics are easy to decompose in a natural environment or environment. I want to stress that, for that natural environment. This means reducing negative environmental impacts as well as sustainable development for the planet. Who wrote this? A multi-million-dollar business company that's investing in bioplastics, which is equal to $13,362.10 million as of 2023. And it's estimated to be a $44,772.3 million by 2030, and that's the projection. The definition sounds really good because it has so many words like bio, plant-based, natural environment. But if you read through the lines and understand the definition like Monique did, read it again and again, highlight it, understand the definitions, and it boils down to, that's a $50,000 million industry, and they have a pretty definition for that. So that's bioplastics. And if you look at this graph, bioplastics are already a part of everyday life. Yes, we don't want to use plastics, But imagine I'm in a hospital and you guys all are care for me and love me, and the doctor told me, yeah, we need to perform open heart surgery on Prema. And are you going to tell doctor, you're not supposed to wear any gloves because we are sustainable, we compost, and Prema doesn't like anything plastic around her? Are you guys going to tell that to the doctor? I'm going to come out and say, what are you guys doing? Are you guys killing me or saving me? Or imagine I had to have a vent, or it's something I need to breathe through oxygen. Are you going to tell, doctor, Prema doesn't like plastic, so we can't have that big nose hose. We need to make it out of iron or steel or something specially for her. Doctor is like, she doesn't have that much of time. Can we use this or can we kill her? So there are plastics in our everyday life that are mandatory because of sterilization purposes or many other reasons. We cannot avoid it. Who drove a car? Whoever drove a car? How many parts in your car are plastic? Are you going to tell, people living in Coachella Valley, do we want to have a car that's all made with iron? So too hard, plastic became a really integral part, and there are certain areas change cannot happen right away. Maybe that change sometimes doesn't sound good. So if you look at this, we have everyday items like office equipment, our mouse, laptops, binders. We can get alternatives at this point, but traditionally all those things are made of plastic. Disposable catering and tableware, this is where we can make the change happen. Electronics, nah. Shopping bags and packaging, yeah, it already started and it will be better. We have sports. I don't know, maybe I don't want my kids to go around with an iron helmet with nails down, So I'll rather stick with some polymers and see how good they are or what are the changes they can make. Toys, obviously we can have better things. Bio-waste bins liner, we'll talk about it. Bedding, absolutely. We can change our bedding material, and we can, if you're comfortable, get mattresses that are made with natural material. I grew up in India. The abundant thing we have that we don't have in the US except in Florida is coconut. Our mattresses used to be springs and coconut coir lined with natural material as the top. So it's not polyester or anything. And my grandparents still have the same mattress because somebody will come once a year, open it up, like a seamstress or something. They take the coconut coir and mix it with more coconut coir or cotton, whatever we need for the bedding, and they will redo it. So bedding is something we all can change. Coffee capsules. There is an Australian company that made $5 million on Shark Tank just because they invented a coffee capsule that's biodegradable. So that's already done. Coffee capsules are already done, but it's not into the market because it's in Australia right now. It's an Australian-based company. We have cosmetic products. Yeah, we can make big switches, but carefully. We don't want to just take out everything and say, I'm going to make this switch. Educate yourself and get educated and share that knowledge with other people. Clothes and fashion. Why do you think I'm wearing this shirt today? 100% cotton shirt. Heck yeah, $7, TJ Maxx. And I'm like, I want to start a t-shirt printing business because everybody is doing it. It's all over TikTok, Instagram, and everybody want to wear a shirt that says save the planet, save the climate. And I go to this rabbit hole, Reddit groups, Discords and everything. What is this material that's printed on top of this 100% cotton t-shirt? Especially for this kind that's so cheap. The mission is only $200, and all I need to put the shirt and press it down and take it off. The t-shirt is ready. Well, does anybody have any guesses what this printing material is? Vinyl. Where else do you see vinyl? All the beautiful stickers we are looking at, our water bottles. Courtney just yesterday told me she found a company that's making compostable stickers, but they're still working on making whole thing compostable. Half of it is compostable. I'm like, oh. Okay, this is where my problem is. I found a 100% cotton shirt, but I did not realize whether it's 100% sustainable or compostable.
Harvest the Mill makes 100% organic cotton shirts locally, and then 8 Duke
good to know. So alternative to this, I found embroidery or screen printing with sustainable inks and everything. So we have options, but it's just not out there and readily available. And these are the little things that we can change in our everyday life that will have a huge impact. Right now, I can't go into a Walmart like I used to and come out with a cart full of clothes. Why? There is only one t-shirt that's made out of 100% cotton. Everything else is polyester. I'm like, I don't have to spend a bunch of money at Walmart right now, so that's good. But I did that last week just to know how many items in Walmart are made with 100% natural material. They don't have many options. There is only one option, and that sucks. What else do we have? Commuting to work, that's an area I don't want to get, because as a sustainability commissioner, we are talking a lot about this. But again, you know, there are certain things we can't change right away. But as an individual, we can make sure when we are going to buy clothes next time, hey, is it 100% cotton or does it have any kind of plastic?
Just on the shirts, see if there's also bamboo and hemp alternatives.
I'm doing a radio talk in the desert, and I found 13 varieties of natural materials that made out of different animal and plant sources. And the most intriguing one, and I'm like, wow, that's really cool. They're making fiber out of pineapple. I know in India they're making fiber out of bananas and the lotus because it has that thick silk-like texture, but I never heard pineapple. So there are 13 to 14 different varieties of materials that are completely natural, made out of plant or animal wool. I'm not mean to say animal meat. It's made out of leather, you know, animal skin or wool that we can choose rather than having 100% polyester dress. The big question I ask to students when I give this talk, you know, when I talk to them, you don't want plastic to go into soil and you fight for it because it's polluting oceans and everything. And imagine your favorite brand Nike came out with a jacket that's saying they made it out of 100 or 1,000 plastic bottles. You are wearing it and it's 110 degrees outside, and don't you think that plastic is slowly leaching onto your skin, and your skin is the biggest organ of your body that's breathing out as well and breathing in? So don't you think that plastic is entering into your body just because of the clothes you're wearing? Yes, it is. So I'm not saying anybody to change your habits. I'm saying maybe nobody ever told us to think that deep. What's next? This is the main difference. Conventional plastics. One thing I want to stress is there are two varieties of plastic, conventional plastics and bioplastics. Conventional plastics are made with petrochemicals, which means they had to pull the fossil fuels out, and they go through a process in the industries, and at every different temperature, they will have different varieties of item extracting along with some petrochemicals. Conventional plastics and most of the plastics are made out of fossil fuels, and fossil fuels are not renewable. And bioplastics, as they're quoting, are made out of plant material or plant-based, which means they're stressing these plastics are made with plant-based, which means they're renewable. So yes, we are against conventional plastics that are made from fossil fuels, but we are okay to use plastics that made out of plant material. But if you go into deep into engineering and the process they make the plastics, most of the contamination happens in the process they are making it, or what kind of additives they have to add for a plant-based material to make it hard and sturdy. So even though they are saying, hey, these plastics are made with plant-based, it has to go through a certain chemical treatment that gives it sturdiness and hardiness to hold our lotion, hold our essential oil, or hold our shampoo spray. It has to go through the same process. And that is as bad as using plastic that is made out of fossil fuels. And they have this bioplastics, that's where they're calling it as starch blends, and they have more different varieties. I don't want to go through that, but this is the difference. Biodegradable, non-biodegradable. Biodegradable, you take a plastic bottle that's made out of plant-based material, throw it in the landfill, do not disturb it for 100 years, 20 years, or 30 years, it breaks down. If you memorize the definition of bioplastic, there is something I stretch, natural environment. So that's where bioplastics can go into a landfill, and if you're not disturbing it anything, with the time they eventually break down. But what we are doing as community composters, we are adding time to the natural decomposition process. So we want the material to go through fast, and we want certain things out of our compost. Can we do the same thing? No, we can't put a biodegradable plastic bag in our compost pile and they say natural environment is fine. Our compost is also natural environment, but the definition of natural environment according to the companies is it has to sit somewhere for 10, 20, 30 years to completely decompose. The definitions we learned from the science textbooks are completely different from the definitions of the laws, policies, and the legislations. So that's where the main difference is. These are the different types of differences between bioplastics and biodegradable. I just used ChatGPT. I don't want to do a bunch of research, but it came out pretty good. I checked it. So the composition, environmental impact, for bioplastics, generally more eco-friendly, reducing resilience on fossil fuels with lower greenhouse gas emissions during production. That's for bioplastics. What about biodegradable plastics? Environmental impact varies based on composition and conditions. May still rely on fossil fuels. I'm like, that's crazy. So there are plastics, there are bioplastics, there are biodegradable plastics, these are compostable plastics. How many varieties do we have? And these are the types of bioplastics that are on the market right now: starch-based, polylactic-based, PHS, BPAD. It's the same thing, just like the PEFs, PFFs. And that's continuing the list. So this is the slide. This is my slide for our lecture. How do we compare bioplastics versus community composting? How do we want to handle this? Because we have companies, big companies, pouring millions of dollars making this compostable ware. Our city has an ordinance that the food places cannot give you plastic spoons or forks or anymore. They have to give you everything compostable ware. Yay, the sustainability committee did it, the city did it. But how is it effective in our waste stream or waste hauling stream? I had a talk with our local hauling company, waste hauling company. The representative is like, we don't want anybody to put compostable ware in the green bins because our composting process is 90 days and we don't think they will break down, or there are so many different varieties, we don't know what is going to be the final impact, and we don't want them in green bins. That's not in a highlighted manner on their website. I had to call, I had to go make an appointment, sit down with them and ask these questions. But people who are just looking at the website don't have this information with them. So I would say, hey, pros of bioplastics and community composting: biodegradability, compostable under the right conditions. But what is right condition? A plastic ball made out of banana fiber might compost at a different temperature compared to plastic ball made out of palm or eucalyptus or olive branches. What are those right conditions? We don't know that. Reduce plastic pollution. Technically we are reducing traditional plastic. Lower carbon footprint. That's something those big companies really rely on because they're just using plant material. Improved soil health. I don't know about that. I don't know how much they will enrich the soil. Educational value raises awareness about sustainable waste management. I agree somewhat to that because we are educating people, but I don't agree it 100% because I don't have all the truth and the data. What are the cons of bioplastics in composting? That's my favorite part. Contamination risk. We don't know what's in it, and there is no detailed information, and each and every compostable fork or spoon we pick up.
Sorry, so can you just go back to, so how do they prove that it's compostable?
I think, you want to talk to that?
I don't know if I'm the best person to speak to it. I don't know a ton about biodegradable plastics. There are whole research institutes that exist to advise manufacturers of bioplastics. And and I believe they're the ones who collect the information and feed it back to these industries based on field studies that are conducted. One of which I am familiar with, the rest I have absolutely no idea, but there's BPI, which I believe is Bioplastics Institute, and that is like their whole goal is to do field studies, put these materials out into different types of systems and see how they break down, and then ideally use that to inform manufacturers on better practices for creating them.
So BPI is the certification at this point that everybody is going for, bioplastics industry. I watched a very disturbing documentary on Netflix about the medical devices and how destructive the industry is, but I can relate. What happens, Hali, they're conducting field studies, they're conducting field testing, they're getting data, but when that data is getting released to public, they might be omitting a lot of information that they don't want public to see. So because there is no transparency over there, I'm not sure how much we can rely on that.
Yeah. So BPI is working with the Compost Research and Education Foundation, and they are helping to conduct the field study I'm aware of. I mean, I don't know all of the things that they do. And actually, PREP is very interested in anyone in the community composting setting, anyone with PAC who might want to perform some of these field studies and help to be the ones collecting data. And PREP will share that information with us. They present that publicly at the USCC conference, so there's a level of transparency in that. And if anyone would like to be involved in that, I'm speaking with my contact with PREP in the next couple of weeks here. And there is a paid stipend for people to collect that data at your composting site too. So the woman I know in PREP is lovely. She is also a community composter in Canada and is very passionate about what we're all doing too. So the one link that I personally would kind of trust in all of this, because you're right, there's money gets pumped into research and who knows what the agenda is.
I mean, last night we saw in the Common Grounds picture how the money gets pumped into different versions and the transparency gets chopped. By the time it gets to the public, it's less than 1% or 2%. But CREF, Compost Research and Education Foundation, is what goes for open resource along with all the data we are gathering. So that might be a reliable study to do. Mislabeling and confusion, risks of non-compostable bioplastics being introduced. If you look at every plastic container you're holding, there is not a lot of information on many of them. So that mislabeling and misinformation confuses people, because if I go to a grocery store, every compostable bag is green color. But they are from 20 different companies and their content is different, their composition is different, the material they are using is different. But to please me, everything is in green color, so I'm thinking, yeah, this is a compostable bag. Cost, bioplastics can be more expensive than traditional plastics. Obviously, we can see people going out with their dogs and having those plastic bags with them. They are expensive. I mean, maybe you get a traditional trash bag roll for like $3, whereas this compostable one is $15 or $20 or $30. Quality concerns, composted bioplastics may not always meet quality standards. I mean, now I need to change this last line because we can rely on some of the information that's feeding into a centralized system. But at this point, there is quality concerns because you don't want to introduce like 4 varieties of bioplastics when you don't know what is going to be the end product. So this is my last slide, some decaying or rotting thoughts from me, from me only. Educate yourself personally and professionally, get some science backed up information, but still say no to bioplastics in your compost piles. If somebody is walking in with a compostable bag material or have a box full of forks and spoons and container they collected for the whole last year and they want to compost it, please say no. I think we have that right to say no when we don't know what's going to be our end product, but with some research and some guidance, we can make that happen. But at this point, professionally, educate yourself. Personally, just say no. We can do that. There is not enough data yet. Plastics, I guess, started right in between World War I and II, around 1940s or 1960s. Yeah. We have data from that time till today. What are the effects and things that plastics can cause on humans, on animals, on environment. Bioplastics is still a new thing, you know, it getting pumped up into your economy, but we don't have enough data to compare apples to apples. We know a person get cancer by getting exposed to glyphosate or using certain, you know, military people that living next to these burn pits, tire burning pits and everything. But what happens if we want to do that same thing to bioplastics? Is the same person is going to get healthy? We don't know. We don't have enough data. That's another tool in our toolkit to say no, saying, sorry, we rely on data and science and we don't have enough information and data yet. Say no to any kind of bioplastics or compostable waste. This is something personal to me. I want to educate people when they say, we can test it, but we don't want to accept it so much from you because we don't want to have data, and we don't want to be the persons that digging out some compostable waste after 8 months, that compost being matured and we still have a fork or a spoon. We don't want to be digging that. So say no. This last link is to a website I found in a book I read called One Green Thing, and that author is a environmental lawyer and a lobbyist in Washington. If you have group of people who doesn't want to dig into the compost pile all the time, but they don't know how they can help, that website has a survey of 24 questions that kind of gives you like, hey, what kind of characteristics do you have in terms of climate change and how you can support. So that's like a guidance that I really loved. When I did the survey, I'm like, oh yeah, that fits my profile, you know, that I feels like it's me. So if you have anybody that's wondering and who don't know where to start with to help the climate change and how to help, but they don't want to dig into compost pile, that survey will be a good spot to start. And that's my presentation. Whew, that's so much. I'm like, Ali.
So if we end up having to use biodegradable or compostable label items, we can put them in our city.
Not in the green container. That's what happened between me and the employee of PSDS. They said, we don't know how they're going to decompose and we don't allow it. You have to put it in the landfill container.
That's still in.
Yeah, it's still a no. We cannot put compostable ware in our green containers in Coachella Valley. If Bartek is the one that's picking up all over Coachella Valley, we cannot put any compostable ware in our green container. I'm doing a quick resource audit. It will be really quick if you guys want to come here. These are the cardboard pieces I'm talking from Costco, 4x4 sheet, really handy instead of buying a plastic tarp and trying to clean it up. If you have the Smart Stack or any kind of compost container, if you are afraid that food is spilling all over, I use these things as an inner layer because I know this will decompose eventually. Costco liquor aisle. If you go to the chemical cleaning aisle, they're going to smell. So you can pick this up every time you go to Costco. You can use them in garden. You don't have carbon source. Hoo-hoo, shred this people. Can I have that? So this is a bag that's in the landfill station at Commons. And we just picked up a little bit, one bag, just to do the resource audit. Another coconut. This is in the landfill bag. And they have pretty good signs. How many guys observed that they have signs saying landfill with pictures, with visual aids? Erin. This is a landfill bag, container from a landfill. So these are the first thing we see. We have soup in this. But did the soup came from the other side? No. Which means when they're pressing this, they might have used some kind of lining that can be plastic. And we don't know what it is. If I put it in my compost, this part is getting decomposed. This part might be, the inside part might be breaking into microplastics and polluting my compost. I don't want that. Personally, I don't want that. So this is how we do resource audit at any place. You can have a tarp, but I like this because I can take them home and put them in the compost. I don't have to handle a big tarp washing and everything. but we want to give as much of information as possible to that particular organization. So this is me.
So Prema, didn't it say on the signage that that's supposed to go into compost, like for municipal compost?
Did anybody observe it? I think City of Redlands doesn't have composting yet.
They even wanted the napkins in the landfill. Yeah, they wanted the napkins. Because that might be able to go to a place like Vertec. They might be able to handle something like that.
Do you guys have composting in Redlands yet?
They won't take that.
Yep, this is all going into landfill. Greenware, compostable. If anybody want to dig in with gloves, feel free. I'm not, please join the party. It's like, I don't want to have all the fun by myself. We can just leave the food in the middle and take rest of the items. Just aside so we can separately, yeah. So put them aside so we can show how many pieces we have.
So you want the napkins separated?
Yeah, napkins separated. So this is good. Okay, people. Food. What kind of stream should it go? It can go. Compost. Paper napkins. So out of this landfill bag, probably like it might be 5 pounds or something, we extracted food and paper that can be composted, that can be half of the weight. And they have clear signs with bins and everything saying what goes into what container, but yet we have food and paper in here. And again, these ones, do they have any kind of marking on them? Zafir, you want to check and tell them? Doesn't say anything. So as a consumer and a person who has like old aged parents, or if I'm handling 2 different jobs, how should I kind of take time in my day to call the manufacturers and ask what stream should it go into? So this one is unfortunately going into landfill. All these forks are from a company and it says compostable, but it doesn't say, hey, whether it's backyard compostable or large scale compostable, or the temperature needs to be a certain high temperatures. It just says compostable. There is not enough data. And maybe City of Redlands is not doing composting on its own. So when we send this in a composting container and they see this, they call it as contamination. They just pull the whole bag out, and throw it into the landfill. And all these containers, where should they go?
Recycling. But they're dirty, so they won't take them if they're dirty.
So there is your answer. All the plastic cups that are with numbers and everything can be recycled, but they has to be clean. They cannot have any grease, food, or any contamination. For us, it's food, but for the industrial people, it's contamination. So if they see a bag with this kind of material, and if they see any contamination, they'll just pull it out and put it into a bag that's going into the landfill.
But what about the restaurant? There are restaurants that tell you to put their plasticware into the recycling. So are you saying that they're asking us to do that? Like, for instance, in Starbucks, you'll see recycling for things like this, and it's dirty.
That depends on what kind of transfer station your material is going, because they purchase this heavy machinery stuff, and if it's not a latest machinery, the latest one can handle the dirty stuff because they go through a washing process. But if it's an old functioning unit and they have the old machines, they cannot do that. So again, you got to call your particular city or where the material is going, making sure they take dirty ones. Same with the aluminum containers, same with the oil containers. They don't, if it's contaminated, some places won't accept them. This is something happening that we don't see on YouTube or TikTok. Imagine if we have so many videos, what's happening inside one of these locations, we will be aware of those things. I don't know what kind of mission they are using in Coachella Valley, but if they say, nope, you cannot put contaminated one, I'm assuming They have an older mission that, it cannot take the contaminated ones and go through a wash process.
What about the wood stirrers?
Wood stirrers, we don't know whether they are treated or not, but if they are not treated, that might not completely contaminate your compost pile, but you don't want to have 3 bags full of those because we don't know how that's going to handle. Information, we don't have enough information. That's why we restrict at community composting sites, because we are so small and we want to make sure we are giving that green spaces and good nutrition food to the people. We want to avoid and say no to as much as possible, but we want to raise this awareness. Hey people, I love that you want to switch to compostable ware, but can you take a day and call the city and confirm with them what they are? Because I'm so busy with composting. I can handle composting part, but I don't want to handle the part where I have to call city and wait in the line for 2 hours. They hung up on me, and again I have to do it 10 times. I can't handle it because it's depressing, but I'm happy with composting, so I'll do this. And what about these packets?
Plastic, foil.
The company might say some of these are recyclable, but for a recycling mission, this is too small of a size. That doesn't meet their standard size dimensions and everything. So they just take it out and put it in the landfill. So when we are doing a waste audit like this, again with the same cups like that, ranch containers, ketchup packets. So when we are doing this resource audit, we separate everything like this, and we had to dig through 350 diapers one day. 350 diapers. But once we did the resource audit for them and we recommended some changes, trust me, those are infants to 5 years old. In 800 pounds, we get only 3 steel spoons per week. So they use reusable plates right now. They use steel silverware that can be reused, rewashed and reused. But in 800 to 1000 pounds, we get only 3 spoons or forks in a week. Kids are doing better than us for sure. So we do this resource audit. Yes, I will be sitting on the floor like this, and I will be wearing my gloves, and I will take pictures, do a presentation just like this one, but I will weigh all the materials separately, and I will put it in a chart saying, hey, out of 1 trash bag, we have 5 pounds of food material. How many trash bags? I will ask the janitorial person, hey, how many trash bags do you have? He will say 50 trash bags. Okay, 5 times 50, these are all approximations. So 250 pounds of food material times 5 days a week that can be composted is going into landfill out of this facility. I try to make this number on an annual basis so people can see the big numbers. I did this at a high school, and they have almost 2,000 kids. Every day they are getting a packet with a plastic spoon, fork and a knife with a napkin, and ketchup, mustard, soy sauce packet. I'm like, let's do the math. 2,000 kids, 6-7 plastic pieces, times a day, times a week, time a year. How many pieces of plastic out of this one school is going into the landfill? And what do you want to do about this? I'm not here to give you solutions, but I'm here to educate. So I will print out a page as an exercise. These are the materials we found in your waste stream, so-called waste stream. And this is what you are doing actually. I will put the number or the weight. This is what we are actually doing. We are putting everything in the landfill container. What are your top 3 options for everything? How do you want to make change happening? I can give you some ideas, but it's your school, it's your classroom. I'm getting paid to be here. But what do you want to do? When you come to a reunion into your school in 15, 20 years, what do you want to tell your kids that you did for your school? So I'll just leave that assignment. The teachers are really highly motivated to do this with their kids, and they're coming up with ideas. All I did is did the dirty part. And we involve the students in this one, and we will hear things like, I did not sign up for this. I'm in an environmental club, I'm in a sustainability club, but this is not what I want to do. I'm like, perfect, go do that survey. So you will find what you need to do. I'm happy to do this, but I don't want to go and sit in front of TikTok or Instagram, make videos. I'm not for that. but I can do this. What else you can do? And that survey will be a beginning point. If somebody want to open that, we might have some of these containers in there. I will just take them out. And then if you guys want to stay, that's fine. If not, we are done.
I was going to say also,
Thank you.